Sure. Oh, wait, I hit the art stream button. There it is. There we go. We're back. Sorry about that, you guys. Let me check. Excellent. Turns out it was not an OBS problem. I just had to unplug my headphones and plug them back in. But if I unplugged them without turning OBS off, OBS would have forgotten that they existed, so I would have had to reboot the stream. Anyway, this is fun. This is us having fun. Anyways, hi everybody, we're back. Welcome back to stream. Sorry about that. We're back into it. OBS is a meeting crow program. Listen, I like OBS 90% of the times, but the other 10% of the times it can give me some problems. It's been giving me problems lately. Come on, OBS. I believe in you. You can do it. Anyway, I'm going to take a sip of my drink, and then we are going to get started on this adventure. If you were not here last time, brief recap is that, a famous Japanese novelist from real life, from Meat Space, was arrested because he was accused of stabbing a lady in the back on the street. He insists he didn't do it, but other people, claim that he was the only person in the area who could have done it. And now it's time for us to go to court and prove his innocence! Yay! Adventure. The Great Ace Attorney Adventures, to be precise. Onward! Oh wait, I already saved. I don't need to save again. I just need to hop back into it. Let's go! 20th of February, 9:23 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. I want to sit on that couch. Looks like a nice couch. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may as well be his or her one and only time in court. It could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Who is this? Good morning! Oh, there he is. Mr. Natsume, good morning. He's so shifty, literally. Stop wiggling, sir! Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. Now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? But, Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. Here, I'm gonna turn this up just a little, and the game volume down just a smidge, because when I was watching back the previous stream, it was a little quiet. I wish I had 9 lives! My whole future hangs in the balance! I'm too terrified to tremble! I forgot he did JoJo poses. Really? Because I can feel tremors on the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Was the girl he supposedly stabbed famous? Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Oh, VTuber McVampire. Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Miss Susato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zieks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Ah yes, Captain Fish and Chips. The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zieks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. God, that was yesterday. It feels so long ago. The trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made an even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're all speculating various answers. Mundane! Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us! Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. Yeah, the person in this case didn't die, but she's like, has not woken up yet, so cannot be relied upon as a witness, and also might still die. Possibly. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper! I wouldn't use the word friends. He was an asshole to us many times. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. Don't fear the Reaper, Inosuke, it's fine. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck! Why must I be represented by a man of such frail fortune? Speak for yourself! By the least lucky lawyer alive! Hey, we still won yesterday, technically. Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yeah, eat that shit. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student new to London with little in the way of experience or skills. Or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight in your corner until the bitter end. And I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent student, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Was it really a win if the guy was probably guilty? Listen. You're not alone in here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquire-S. I am in your debt forever! I shall never forget this great kindness for... Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. Why is he Jersey now? Okay, bailiffs are Jersey now. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. I don't know where that jersey came from. Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! I grit my teeth. Yes, show you all of them. Like we're going to the dentist. This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. Oh, New Jersey crossed the Atlantic. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. No, he's in grayscale! Because this time I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Yeah, well, your client this time is a lot less sus, Ryu. Come on. Just like you believed in me. I believe that I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. The problem with my Jersey accent is it is wildly inconsistent, so, you know. The Old Bailey courtroom! Let's go! Oh boy, 5 new jurors to voice. God. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I miss him too. Not you, Judge. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. Look at this dramatic asshole. Look at him. God, look at him. The defense is ready, my lord. God. He could be eating Hot Pockets behind that cape, and we would never know. He's just like, he's got his arm up and he's just like very, very, very gently just nibbling on the edge of a Pop-Tart. A 19th century Pop-Tart, like nom 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 nom. If you think about it, are blood packs like the Pop-Tarts of vampires? The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Yeah, sorry, what? Yeah, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Oi! Just eat your Pop-Tarts and keep your stupid mouth shut, asshole.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susato-san. Yeah, get him! Get him!
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Bitch. I pour out my Pop-Tart juice. Very true. And the most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. Ugh, I still think he, you did something to kill him, I swear to God. Strawberry filling, guy eats strawberry Pop-Tarts. Exactly, it's Pop-Tart juice. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You! You! You again? Are we gonna mention that? Are we gonna bring that up? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
You again! You too! You've got a different hat now. Sus AF.
Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow.
You!
I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed.
You're a conflict of interest. You're involved in this case. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. You're somebody. Eh? Sorry, didn't quite catch that. He's somebody, isn't he? I feel like I've seen him before. Was he in the last one too? I forget. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Bro! We haven't even started yet, and he's already destroying his own property! Or of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Yeah, he knows from experience. Jesus fucking Christ.
Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of the dreadful Japanese.
Oi! Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Oi!
Eh? Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Jeez, guys. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. That poor lamp in the back is just like, what the fuck did I ever do to you? Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Yeah, like half the jurors in this case are not neutral parties. They are not. This will be, interesting. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. The boy is Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? Ooh. Very interesting hairstyle choice. The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at the street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Allegedly. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is a case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Alrighty. Give me that. I want to look at the court record because I want to see what's written on that. Details. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound in the back. Victim, olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Location, pavement of Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer, Rolly Beat. Additional notes. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Okay. Things we need to know. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. It's not that big, it's a pocket knife.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody could have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even if the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. Yeah, he has a literal sword, bruh! You have a literal sword on your hip, Ryu. You are not one to talk. A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Jackknife. I would like to look at the knife, please. Shwink! Oh, the tip's broken off.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Miss Usato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Either in the victim or somewhere completely unrelated. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Schwink.
Okay, well now we know that the tip of the knife is gone. That's probably going to be relevant. Don't make me tap the sign. That's not a sword. It's Kazuma's soul. Somebody make that meme. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes! Raises his hand in court like a good boy. If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way. Is a fancy vampire font. Whoa, bro! Dude! I could have killed somebody in the audience! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. I shall not forgive you, sir, and nor shall the person you just de-brained with the wine bottle. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Limbonese student. Yes, sir. Okay, sure, fine. Just because he was the only one there, supposedly. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he had just bought, he was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime taken immediately after the incident. Rip. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Oi! Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well,
Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it.
What are you doing, Miss Husato? Do go on. Oh, that's your voice, oops.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us all what had all happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed into the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there, so I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings. Humph, a green overcoat.
Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color! What will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could have possibly stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. Have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Let's fucking do it. I still love the little stained glass effects behind their little dramatic things there. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurs. Okay, let's press some stuff. No one was about but the victim and the accused. I still want to know who this cop who witnessed it was. How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Ah, yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That's correct. That's correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I am unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. Again, it is not tiny, it is several times larger than Britain, but okay. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. Yeah. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to escape to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed. From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less? I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's being treated at bats. I was hopeful she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's sides, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh. He's just nervous. Give him a break, Vampworth. Scattering his belongings all over the floor.
Hold it!
Just pressing, trying to get more out of this guy. Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord, and second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Those being a number of old books he just bought. Okay. The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must. I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Local maps updated. Good, we need that. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Yeah, it's not the same bookshop. Your books. Your book. Bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue. Very well, not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He's on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. No, he was not.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. That's not his voice. I keep getting their accents mixed up. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume. Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, did you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, it is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Whatever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he almost certainly would have passed the place Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Will that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Yeah, well, we don't know where the other bookshop is yet. It could be, like, right next door. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Measham Street going east. Give me more map info. And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. Yeah, it still would have been shorter to go the other way. You tried, my son, you tried. Does he just have a case full of those just below the desk? My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown the way he regales us with such witticisms. Oi! You are not the clown, you are the entire fucking circus. Do your future career in the circus. You put that glass down now or I'll put it down for you. Oh, damn, Susato, get him! I didn't think we needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Yeah. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow Nipponese friend. I hate this fucking guy. Jeez, that's 2 now! We've only been here for 30 minutes! Whatever the man purchased his musty tomes, it made no difference in the final analysis. Ah.
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
I beg your pardon? Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Gosh, she's absolutely right.
We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Saseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... Oh, oops. They're just pressing buttons. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. But he already admitted that he was there. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. Yeah. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused in response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. That's convenient. Conveniently a pain. I don't believe this! It's okay, Ryu. We're gonna figure a way out of this shit. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? Get up, buddy, it's okay. But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zeeks, wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does that mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well, in that case I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
When did you guys get voices? Jeez! It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. Time to call out their shit! I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his onkus refusal to throw in his alley. What do any of those words mean, you British? Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Yes, please do. I would love to hear this! For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity had already admitted to himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim.
The man wouldn't have gone around the local houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
Oh, I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Okay. What does that have to do with anything? With only minor exceptions, the reason for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. Once the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink into the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Oh, why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If you want to force the trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Rinosuke, you can do it. Come on, my son, let's do this shit. Yeah! I get to walk around now. Fence's rebuttal.
Hold it!
You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite, that's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit.
But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
If that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
Yo, jeez! I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime.
Yeah.
If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
That went well for her. We've gone around to the houses on his way back from the bookshop.
Hold it!
I'm having thoughts. Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No, what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was putting out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And just before 5, you say, exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry, not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Oh, wait a minute, let me get this straight. Did this happen on Calabash Road? Green coat, you're right! Oh shit! That's right, I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry, extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. Green coat.
It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help a feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective.
I agree. It's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something.
We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo, cunningly.
Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again, carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other.
Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other.
Okay. Yeah, we're about to take this fucker out.
Objection!
Racist lady. Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6?
My, whatever do you mean, sir?
I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we are all well aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Can we really be sure of that, madam?
My, whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my!
My goodness, you mean? That's right, I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that.
My goodness me.
Sorry, you need a pee? Jeez. And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road?
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot old man! If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days, Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well... Yeah, boy. Get him.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to flip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. And that's what we have to prevent by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord.
Could have been that old man in green that what the defendant saw. I have to call not guilty.
Okay, so we can't pit those who have already changed their minds against each other. Gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
Hold it!
Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face, or the side of it anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around. The police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock. Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm all in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
He's, right there. Is that him? It looks very similar to the guy from the other day, but I can't tell without his hat. But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume possibly could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. As I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is he went home along Briar Road. God, I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim like that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why I might have gone to the Calabash Roadway, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
You know what? I'm willing to bet this guy, he's like a worker or something, and he is gonna give us a reason why he couldn't have gone down the other road that day. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Ah. Likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and their work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and centre. They're after cheap labour to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right, Meersham Street it was. Meersham Street?
On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets.
Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Day it happened, I was digging up Meersham Street from dawn till dusk.
Objection!
Get 'em! Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
Eh? What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meersham Street making it impassable, which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meersham Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, now you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go round the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice.
Yes.
My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes. I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what's really happened. Get 'em. What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. I wonder what piece of evidence will catch on fire by the end of this trial from this massive fire hazard. Well, that summation examination is concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4, so the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Haha, suck it. If you throw that glass, I swear to God. Okay. Will it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Oi! Eh?
Whatever do you mean?
Objection.
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claimed. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement of which you had excavated, sir? That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Japanese or Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Yeah, well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no.
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. I would not argue that our, accused is of any sort of vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Eh? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Eh? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had the hope of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back to when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. That's dangerous and an OSHA violation, sir. Although I don't know if old Britain had OSHA. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Ah! Is that true, is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Yeah, crushed in a single sentence. And, old man...
Cold man? You can talk?
You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Galexio Takudra, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream squad.
Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about the wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Yarg! Order! Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord? If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. Ugh. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. The coat comes off! Let me see those pauldrons! So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses?
Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright, no matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. And now I have time to take a sip, because I'm thirsty from all the talking. Oh, she's cute! Sir, take your thing out of your mouth. Hold on. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Oh, stretch break. I just did a hydrate and a stretch break. Look at these two lovebirds. Oh, he's cute, but he's got his thing in his mouth, though.
Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say this young town's hero's wife.
What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
I love the little sparkles in her eyes. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired? Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that the policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. Rowley. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road with the opposite direction. And they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir.
What a great witness he's gonna be. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the others scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day.
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. It was more viable than pole vaulting over a pit, dude! What an unfortunate bechancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that.
Gosh, the life of a London bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. Let's go. Okay. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat?
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can you?
I think Broly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling?
Jeez.
What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy.
Oh no, Roly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes.
Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir, yes. Although I've sit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end.
What's that now?
My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then?
But sir, just on that one particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Roly.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps? And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Ah, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed, that is as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the tout mouth, the snub nose. Everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes. And then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. They seem as tough as though they're telling me the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please continue.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We went straight over, of course, and we went for help at a nearby police box.
Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Ah, yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of the crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't exactly on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby off duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we?
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yes, all right, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about?
The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
What?
Yes, it was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose... Unmistakable, sir.
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. The Soseki's on this all running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same.
So if that's true, where does it leave us?
The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony.
Oh no, well then what do we do?
If Kazuma-sama were here,
What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean, somewhere else?
Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory that day is accurate.
Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in the case statement somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
Ugh, why do I always seem to be so up against it? Alright, we have a few more statements we can press. Oh, or not.
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yes, of course, what is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
What? No. It's really not that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one, I could. Every single one. Can you dare to question how reliable my testimony is?
That will do, Mrs. Beat.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rowley will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you? It's gonna be the wrong set of books that's not on the receipt.
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene.
Okay, so tell me. Oh, 4 books! 4 books! Hang on. That said 4 books. That said 4 books. That said 4 books. I'm skipping ahead. Sorry, I want to get to that. I want to get to... There was...
The picture of Monsieur somebody or other and what's it yearnings. And there was, a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamy something.
Wow, so helpful. Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory.
Oh, well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
I don't care, you said 4 books, it was 3. It was 3 books! I want to go back! Whoa, sir, dude! Dude!
Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to.
What the... Who let you in the courtroom with a gun? Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Yeah, I know. She said 4 books. She said 4 books and there were only 3 books. She said 4 books and there were only 3 books! I know, fast forward. Wait. Oh, 2 shillings, okay.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right, I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur somebody, what's it yearnings, a meal for someone, and the thingamy something.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no, what flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
This is a receipt from the bookshop where the defendant brought his books.
Your books?
Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you, 4 dirty old books.
Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books.
But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it, I saw them.
No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon.
Yeah?
So it cannot be denied that though you say it was a defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no, oh no.
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Eh. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Yeah, he sees right through me. But your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple, let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Oh!
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Bry Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
Bullshit! But what about the photographic print? It shows only 3 books. Quite right, only 3 can be seen. In that print. That print? You mean to say... Bruh! Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. I don't believe it. It's the fourth book. As you... Oh, wait, shit, that was the book. That was the book that was in the fire. It was burned. As you will observe. The fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No! Yeah, and why is she holding it? Order, order.
There, you see? You see? Look at that! Look, look, look!
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq. I don't think that's how you're supposed to pronounce that, but I don't know. Lecoq, maybe?
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gaborio, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rowley? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless.
But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book? No, she wasn't!
I wonder what became of that 4th book.
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You'll submit that in the aforementioned... Oh, you'll submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. Okay, so we get that. And that. I need to look at that fucking book, because that is sus as fuck. Sus AF.
Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt.
You're right, you've never been able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Yes, why indeed.
Let me see, it's a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard... Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I may have heard of a book by that name before, and very recently too.
It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yeah, because we heard about it yesterday. Yep. Why does she have that? The prosecution rests. I have nothing for it to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer to the accused logjings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see? Everything we said is true! Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury could like to reconsider their positions. Should the court wait any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? Shut the fuck up. You have all heard of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? We will obviously object. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. The last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a flawless pole indeed. Jesus! For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh.
Rude! I'll throw a wine bottle at his fucking face! I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Tell him!
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, Miss Susato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been looking for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. He's managed to win us one last chance here. Can't, let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked. It's the fucking book.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yeah. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. Concur. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means you may very well be on the right track.
Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case in which the fourth book conceals? On the back.
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Oh. Kyle Cosmic Deluxo, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream squad. Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh. Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert this fire damage is some thinly veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? I don't know, one of the jury members could tell you. A charred book. There is just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered? Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers.
The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly? Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you for if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? This motherfucker.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself.
Oh my goodness me. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house?
I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without the shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection.
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. Good lord, what sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. I'm just not sure what this implies, because, like, did they throw the book out the window? How'd she get it? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. Whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. Bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is I lost my favourite book called The Lion's Pride. Oh, that's a fucking look. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that the book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself from the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was a marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Yeah, what if she threw the knife out the window? They said it was heavy. It could have stabbed her in the back. She bent over to pick up the book, and then she fell. And then she got stabbed, and that's when she fell right as our boy was passing her. Oh shit. Had all my old favorite novels on that case, but as soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime? No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But it is not inconceivable that the window was open at the time, and not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. But if it filled with smoke, then they could have opened the window. Maybe that's why he was by the window in the first place. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. Yep, I knew it was her.
Well, I hope that everyone can see for you what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
Claiming our little tip set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family name.
No, I assure you that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right. Here we go. How long are we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting his fancy foreign theories? Well, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene, too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me. Sorry, what's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zeeks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Get those dirty feet off the table! If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty.
No! We've already done this!
Guilty. Guilty.
Oi! Damn it, not again! Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over.
Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up.
Miss Susato? Have you forgotten?
The battle isn't over yet.
You're not suggesting...
Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, The defense asked to exercise its right to a summation examination. Humph. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Yeah, look at my boy. That's character growth, baby. Mwah, we love to see it. To be continued. Hell yeah. So next bit's gonna be figuring out that the window was open because it was smoky. Let's fucking go. Feel like you have this one figured out all the way. Well, who knows what could happen in the next few minutes here. I'm mildly concerned, but let's see. I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury. And I've determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Dun dun. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his.
If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to the crime if the window is closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening even with a direct hit.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had fire at home a while ago. Gave me the sneezes. He did it because I'm racist, Fancy. Yeah, basically. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the crime. And moreover... Bruh, how many is that? 3 now? Good God. No one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as though the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. That means, I'm afraid, that during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Oh, wrong voice. Who stabbed the woman and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and the method by which the attack was conducted. And here I was thinking this might be hard.
But Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise this really will be where the trial ends.
No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you're prepared, counsel? Oh, yes, my lord. All right, Rinosuke, focus your mind now. Slap. Get him, my son. Clearly the key to the summation examination is gonna be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say Mrs. Garrideb.
We have a book that disappeared from the Garrideb's house on the evening of the incident.
And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the 2. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garrideb and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Let's go! Oh, that's cute. They're just back there.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean?
Oh my, such delight on your face, but I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I'm a very modern, metropolitan, rational woman.
That's great.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see? Modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say?
And not at all extreme.
As I see it, it's overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by an overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite one or two minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty.
That is not what you said earlier!
Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say?
Overwhelmingly.
But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could.
Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right. I'm glad you omitted rational there. Haha, get her.
Hold it!
But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? Prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winter's in London and no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? God, I can't wait for it to not be summer anymore. I'm ready for winter, give me the cold. You couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point of even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show that there's undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't gonna budge otherwise.
Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening even with a direct hit.
So, are you admitting that the window was open then? But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not?
With flames of love, I'll have you know.
There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb.
Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Miss Garreteb.
Never you mind that. The point is we were just having a little jovial dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime.
Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He was getting smacked. He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garreteb's relentless onslaughts.
It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
I just want to get this over with.
Hold it!
You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, him and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. Situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? I was too frightened, and that's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Helpful.
I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf.
Don't even go there, Mrs. Otto. Jeez. Some way to jog his memory about this. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top, it did. What a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Oh no, my son. Of course not. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, obviously.
It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. So you opened the window, right? Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how'd you catch a cold from a fire? What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it. The windows. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in a hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. Window! Open window! We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes, I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike.
That's the spirit.
Alright, let's do this shit.
Objection!
These two juror statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel?
Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me.
What's that you say? Speak up, lad, speak up. Juror number 3, do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. I love his little walking, his pacing, lawyerly pacing. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garadeb household. Mr. Garadeb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my.
Oh?
Excuse me.
Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garadeb.
Oh, dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
But what is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did? Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire?
Oh, you'd never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Of course. I should have realized. He's so done.
That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You've managed to establish that the window is open. We simply must have had that added to Mrs. Garadeb's formal statement.
Okay, and I think... I mean, I guess this?
Hold it!
Who was that? Oh. Oh, okay, that was not it, I suppose. We already did that. Already did that one. I didn't think so, but I figured it was worth a shot. Okay, in that case, it's you and you. I think. gonna save just in case anyway. Just in case. But I think I know what I need to do here.
Objection!
The music is still going, which means probably not. Have they mentioned a knife? They haven't. We need to figure out where the knife came from. Or, no. Press.
Hold it!
But as we know now, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. Okay, so not him. Okay, we already pressed you. Window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. He said something earlier. Refresh me on what he said. Okay, so that he was forgetful about the fight. You have to jog his memory, apparently.
Hold it!
Oh, that's not what I meant. Wait, we know there was a small house fire in the Gerda household on the opposite side of the street. Well, yes, it certainly seems that way. And on account of the smoke, I imagine I would have had the windows wide open in spite of the cold. We also know that Mrs. Gerda was throwing flaming books at her husband. Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack. Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of them books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only what? Only I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road. That's all. Yeah. So I don't really see how I can change my decision, really. Oh, I see. That wasn't enough? What is it gonna take to persuade these people? Maybe it's these two.
Objection!
No, I guess not. Change statements also need to be pressed. Yeah, I was looking at that. Already did you. You just did you. So the window was open when the Garridibs were arguing that day. Yes, Mrs. Garridibs has finally admitted to it, which is a very significant victory for the defense. I feel like the fog's starting to clear and an alternative explanation of this case is starting to show itself. Starting. I need the rest of it, though. Maybe we just need to convince him even more? He's like, it could have been open. No, it was definitely open. But we already did this one. I already saved. I'm gonna try it. Nope.
Hold it!
I already saved. It's fine. Reload the save if I need to.
Hold it!
Did you change your statement from before?
Well, yes, it was one of my most memorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered.
I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using this trial to explore your past. And how is that memory related to this case exactly?
Sorry,
What's that? You'll have to speak up, I'm afraid. Never mind. He's as deaf as a post when he wants to be. But actually, this old man's anecdote might just provide the alternative explanation I need to make my point to the other jurors. We used unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way. Okay. Maybe these two? Window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. Maybe she threw something else? I feel like that's a bit of a stretch.
Objection!
No. Okay. Have you pressed the maid's new statement? I think I did.
Hold it!
Oh, I guess not. I thought I did! Jeez. Fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading.
well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well, you know.
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Oh,
Excuse me!
excuse me, sir. What is a juror number 5? Getting war flashbacks, my dude? You know something? I remembered what it was. That memory I blocked out. Ah. It was listening to this, what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back.
Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett, or the maid, I'll have you know.
The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me it did, about an inch deep. There it is. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know? That god-awful stench of the Dems. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it.
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined.
Oh, no, I wasn't thinking that.
Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized,
Says the girl who flips me all the time.
At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like.
What? Attack? Who are you going to attack?
Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think.
Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare.
Hold it!
Oh wait, no, I didn't mean to do that. Whee! I didn't mean to press it, I meant to press the other button.
Objection!
There we go. Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative?
Oh my, whatever do you mean?
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, was found at the scene of the crime. Originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrideb household to the street below. Eh? What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garrideb could have thrown away any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Ingston Gala. As a foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us all this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? He looks like his patience is being tried right now. He's like, you dumb fuck. I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrideb household onto the scene of the crime was the knife! Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrideb.
What? What now?
I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Ah.
Good lord, counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man! My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrideb was hurling anything she could at her husband who'd been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the scene of the crime. You can't seriously believe that! The book was found in the victim's grasp!
Are you saying it flew out of the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand?
Huh? Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my.
Ugh. Mrs. Garrideb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not?
Oh, ah!
Oh, she did. My lord!
I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this moment at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo!
So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a member of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. Yeah, boy. Now then, Lord Van Zeeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? He's just been over there day drinking. In silence. Thank God. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. You're a farce. Throw that wine cup, why don't you? I dare you. I dare you to throw it. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. Throw it. Yeah, bitch, do it! Do what I tell you to do! But what follows is so repugnant it's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks. The defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you all must familiarize yourself with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's this angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Geradib household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance between the Geradib's house to the scene is some, 15 yards.
Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters.
14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. Yeah, so the book was thrown, she was like, oh, what the fuck is this book falling from the sky? She went over, she picked it up while she was bending down, knife in her back. On accident. In other words, the smoldering book wantonly hurled by the lady of the house traveled some 15 yards to land in the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. No, because the book was thrown before the knife. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? We are getting the timelines mixed up. And did the jackknife follow a near-identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. Serialized detective stories? Like what? There's nothing I can say to that.
That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice.
Miss Susato.
Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he?
Yeah, she would get mad at that. Maybe let's pick our battles here.
My lord, might I be allowed to speak?
As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea of fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible.
I'm like that too when someone insults my phantoms.
To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Geradib, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection.
Yeet! And unnecessary. Lord Van Zeeks. There are already witnesses in this stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have been flown from through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? God, I forgot you two existed.
Yes, sir. Constable Beat reporting for duty, sir.
What is this music? Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir.
Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more.
Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well, I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of event. I still want to see Suzato in a bobby hat. Me too.
Yes, sir. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, a London bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top-hinged casements.
Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
I didn't take my eye off the scene of the crime for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to record on that front, sir.
Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable.
Ah, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
No, sir.
Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinged casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Oi, come on, I'm new. Of course, sorry.
I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house.
Alright, I'll try.
Envision it in your mind, just like this. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see.
I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down onto the pavement below.
Yeah, hit the metal bar, that's why it's broken, but that would mean that she would have had to have been right below. So she got stabbed and then crossed the street and then fell over? Like, geez. It's a bit of a stretch. But I mean, it has to have been what happened in order for our argument to make sense. You see the problem, Lynn? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered, something we've discounted already. That can't be! Oh, my boy, it's okay, buddy.
Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony.
Oh, yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me.
Oh, Rolly, you're so strong.
Jeez. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. Taken out of context, he is very dramatic, isn't he? Just constantly, like, face planting on the desk. My lord. Oh, good, another desperate situation.
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain?
A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. This has the notable founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember.
To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man, it's what the job's all about. And that is why I can't stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sat?
Oh, Rolly, you're so manly.
Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Jeez. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett?
Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir.
Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then.
Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing.
Yes?
I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some of the tales us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles.
I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here.
To that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get it through without shedding a few tears.
Thank you. I'll try. Book is there and she threw it. Yeah, it has to be. It has to be related. Policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for furtherance of community relations. All crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they're discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. Okay. Nothing wild so far.
Hold it!
But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star.
Sorry?
The star that will guide us to eternal happiness.
Can it guide you to and answer the question? Oh! Pew, 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 pew.
If a flaming book had caught across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star.
And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least.
Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. It says the night sky in London is starless, sir.
It certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
I did leave the scene.
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you were sent to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course.
Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat.
Sir Rolly told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way.
Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Oh, please.
So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the casino the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed.
I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true bobby is never really off duty, sir.
I didn't take my eye off the scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
Hold it!
Nothing to report? That's correct, sir. I had my eyes open wide the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear that on the odds honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of The Lion's Pride was originally in the Garrett household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hands of the victim? You shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived on the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. Two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how the book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruhodo.
I had no right to speak out. Yeah, you did! Well, what do you mean?
I requested the cross-examine of Mrs. Garrett without consulting you. Even if the judge did deny me.
Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Garrett, if we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter.
You really think so?
Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how that window opens, Mr. Garrett's book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it?
You're right.
And then there was Mrs. Garrett's reaction to me showing her the knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it.
You're right again.
We need to use this cross-examination to uncover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear.
Yes.
Okay. Did that change anything about what they said? No. Okay, so the only one we haven't pressed is number 2.
Hold it!
By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted to as to how much they can open. And therefore anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark on the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime on the other side of the rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinged casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
And what would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house is furnished with?
Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Oh? Hello?
Excuse me.
And do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat?
Sorry.
You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rowley's Beat. It was so close, you see.
Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that's Street Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rowley's Beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable Beat. Yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Garrett household yesterday. That house is on my beat, you see.
sir. That really was cutting it close then. Oh. Springheart Arts, thank you for the raid! Welcome! We are in the middle of an intense court battle. Welcome. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrett household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garrett's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. Oh shit, Dawn, I think you're right. I think they moved him. Or they moved her. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would have never been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby after all. Extraordinary people are Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. You know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. Was just outside Constable Beat's beat, the border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road. And now it's my turn, I think. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really. What's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses, I do want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? You've done quite a bit of speaking already, ma'am. Yes, Miss Beat, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is a sage one. That was a very loud mutter. I heard that! That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's words count for nothing, does he? I never said that. Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask that you continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? Indeed, what? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Oh, is it? Mrs. Beat, nobody is questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes. Well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rowley. He gets ever so cross. Do you now, lad? And Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir, yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all. You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way? On the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair longer than I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rowley, you're such a tease. But the reason I was gone so long was because of the bouquet, silly. The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rowley's so romantic. He saved up for it with his farthings and halfpennies and found it in the gutter while doing his rounds. Yes, how romantic. I I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling?
Ah! Oh, yes. But that was just between us. Not talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh.
What was all that about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah, he's just been real quiet this whole time. He's thinking about his witty comeback.
What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while.
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back, I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on?
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up,
It was on the wrong side of the street.
it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
Yeah, Dawn, you were totally fucking right. In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably?
That's right. Silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street.
It seems that the gas lamps weren't the only thing doing some gaslighting that night. Because holy shit, he was just like, nope, not on my, it was totally on this side of the street the whole time.
Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time, I can't think of how it got there, I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar's Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Brody bought me, with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you mean perhaps this sorry solitary rose?
Oh! Oh, yes, that's it! That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with old bits of change he'd found in the gutter.
Or maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Van Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Geradeb household. In front of the Geradeb's house? Although it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No, I think for good measure this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beat. I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for a moment. Okay. Okay, so one of these we have to present the rose to one of these. I'm gonna go ahead and save real quick. Just in case. Oh, just wrapped in newspaper. Oh, buddies.
Objection!
Okay, that wasn't it. I know the rose has to be presented to one of these, but I'm not sure which. I can feel it. Nothing strange to report? Bullshit! There it is. You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be.
What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby. Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of the meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street back into the gutter where it belongs.
Meager?
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact?
No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rhodey didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrideb's book. After Mr. Garrideb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. Oh shit!
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rhodey's done something wrong. Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Whittering about on books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good, Mrs. Garrideb's come back round. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of crime is a criminal offense. It's called,
tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason. Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who could possibly have caused to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Mr. Roly-Poly himself. See, I wish their names were Roly and Polly, because then it could be Roly-Poly. Ha 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 ha!
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Roly Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would my Rowley do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband! He's not gay, even a little bit! No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
And Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go get a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Yeah, well.
Objection!
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate the policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there is only one reason why anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something.
That's right, he's right! But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all! So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense!
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering, and until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
And Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. That is not his voice! If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court what the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the scene of the crime was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road, we saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all.
What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? On this side.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road?
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Oh shit! Beep 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 beep.
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right, I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was the typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print. The victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume. Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't even been seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what actually happened that evening. How do you respond, Constable Rolly Beat? Oh, he's about to have a little mental breakdown. Let's go.
Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
Oh, Rowley. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I had a dream, a terrible dream. All the things I did that night, everything come out, everything exploded. Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly! Mr. Raleigh? Order! What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Rowley, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse it's a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation. For why on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. Yeah, bitch, it's the truth! Drink your troubles away, I dare you. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. Gives away the motives for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions. The program book, right?
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all of this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford the simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal, when he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon the crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? Oh, I guess this might be Ryu talking.
But sir, just on that one particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card the Constable Beat offered to lend me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat. Is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes. Everything you said, it's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh!
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what it meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? Why? It's the corporal's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then when I opened my mouth to speak. I just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the beat next to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Measham Street and then... Oh. Oh, bud. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Constable.
I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner.
Oh, Rowley.
Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighborhood beat's care. You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
Ah, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why. That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly.
And you tell us this, Constable. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, sir, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean.
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
Oh, you found it? What do you mean?
When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir.
Interesting. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord? Yes, Lord Van Zieks? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witness. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Prosecutor, sir? What will become of my Roly? What will happen to him?
For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
All right then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In the criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson into your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir? You mean to say...
Leave, now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir?
Well, quite a starting revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsumi, is the only person who possibly could have committed this crime.
No, it wasn't!
Thank you! No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there's someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back.
Forgive me for being so presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Get him! Get his ass! Lord Van Zeeks, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. And this other person.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again, my assistant made the same request earlier, in order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garrideb.
Me? Me? Oh, dearie me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrideb, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garrideb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road.
Well, what of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against a window. Upon striking the pane of the open-topped hinge casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garrideb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before?
Ah, I don't recall it.
Seriously?
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there is in all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, did he?
Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all. Juror number 4. Ooh! He's on our side now. Get her ass!
Oh,
Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. You are not above the law! If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that's just a common old garden knife. It could come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know?
What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Garrideb.
Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it.
Oh, the poor woman.
So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now, chop chop, do your worst.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo? If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Like she threw a knife out that window. Then take the stand, Jodor.
Oh?
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks.
I'm going to have to testify?
Juror number 4. As I'm sure you will appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garrideb. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Ooh, dramatic camera angle. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Yeah, you are, my boy. Get her. Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes, my name is Joan Garrideb, and I'm a juror, and such like.
Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid, or what anymore. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh dearie me.
Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. Who is... Husbando! There he is.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather thought I'd ought to testify as well, now don't you?
But what about your knee, dear?
Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
No, John.
I presume you're Mr. John Garrideb? Yes, sir. Former lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. He's wearing his Medal of Honor on his robe. Seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. The quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Ah, well, yes. Quite. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once. And I think that is where we are going to leave it for tonight. I feel like that's a good stopping point. My throat is killing me. It's been like 3.5 hours. I feel like this is a good stopping point. We will definitely finish this case on Monday. My throat hurts, and my brother hasn't gotten home yet, but he will be soon. So I think we shall call this a night, and we will resume on Monday, usual time. Thank you guys for enjoying this with me. Let's find somebody to raid, I think. Who's on? It's Friday night. There's got to be somebody here. Okay, looks like B is streaming. Activate. Yeah, so next time I am anticipating that we will start we will finish this case. There's probably like less than an hour left of this one, and then start the final case of game 1, ? I think. Yeah, let's fucking do it. So, thank you everybody for coming and watching. If you are not already following me, make sure that you do that so you will get notifications every time the stream goes live so you don't miss one. I also post my weekly schedule on Twitter and Discord. Links for both of those are in the chat. The Discord server is mostly for my webcomic cast-off, which I also posted links for. But we do have a stream chat channel, and I do post stream notifications every time we go live. Check that out. Read my webcomic. Also, I am about to have some new Ace Attorney stickers and charms on my store, which I just posted a link to. You can also join the newsletter to see when those are up. I will be posting an email once all of those are up and posted. I just finished the art. You can check it out on Twitter. Super fucking cute. I hope you guys like it. Anyway, I'm gonna activate the raid now. Thank you guys for following. I will see you next time for the epic conclusion of Knife in the Back Tossing Trial. Yeehaw. Until then, fare thee well, my friends. Good night.